Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News, and we have a Friday I don't give an F video for you right here. That is this wild story. Bryan Abasolo claims Bachelorette Rachel Lindsay called him a leech, a blood-sucking leech, after he was granted $13,000 in monthly spousal support. I don't know of a better video. This isn't a Monday video, because if you do this video on Monday, where do you go there? This is a capstone, finish the week off, dismount strong. This is a strong Simone Biles dismount of a story here. Maybe there's some Baileys in my Dunkin' Donuts. I won't tell if you don't. Let's get into it. Bryan claims Rachel called him a leech. And it's actually more interesting than that. The Wild X Games revealed. Let me ask you guys this in the comment section. Is this the ugliest Bachelor divorce of all time? It seems to be, right? What once was one of the more private Bachelor relationships has ended in an ugly way. Now, I've been accused of being a simp for Bryan Abasolo. I'm just trying to call it fair. If the judge finds that they made X amount of money during their relationship, minus expenses, it's a 50-50 split for a year or two, whatever the rule is. I don't know what the rule is. I'm not a lawyer. But we'll share Rachel Lindsay saying she wishes she had a prenup. And we're also going to share some other petty stories, because it is petty to call your ex a leech, but I also don't, I don't condone it. But I also say it's kind of funny, right? Like, it's like, do whatever the hell you want. As long as the check clears, call me whatever. I don't know. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter to me. Money's money. So I don't fault Rachel Lindsay at all. Does my favorability rating of her go up at all? 1%. It is a 1% increase in favorability. Does my favorability for Bryan go down at all? No. I mean, I'm standard. Fair is fair. That's the justice, I think. And if the court says it's fair that he gets 50%, then so be it. What are we going to do? Why do we have a justice system if the opinions of the public matter more? You know what I mean? So it's like, you can think all you want about it, but anyway, let's get into it. I'm rambling. I'm a rambling man. And by the way, here's the difference of smut. On page 6, they call it Bryan Abasolo claims Rachel Lindsay called him a leech. And in Touch, they say Rachel Lindsay's ex, Bryan, submits highly offensive text she sent as evidence in divorce war. So they could learn something from page 6. You know, if she called him a leech, put that in the title. You know what I mean? Either way, let's go to In Touch Weekly. They, I think, have been pulling the court documents. They actually used a Dave Neal style thumbnail. You know what I mean? They did the stroke outer glow. They cut that there. I mean, it can't be as good as this thumbnail. This is a classic. I actually found a cartoon leech. You can't beat that. That's why we are successful. We go the extra. You think I'm going to make a video and not have a leech emoji? I'm Googling leech emoji. I'm like, is it spelled E-E or E-A? How do you spell? I'm looking at Gloria Leachman. Like, I'm looking for all the leeches. Okay. Anyway, be a leech and suck the blood in our Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal. So, he accuses her of calling the paparazzi on him. We'll get into that in a second. But again, we're off the rails, so let's go back to the initial article. Bachelorette alum Rachel Lindsay's estranged husband, Bryan Abasolo, accused her of sending a nasty text message after making her first spousal support payment, In Touch can exclusively reveal. According to court documents obtained by In Touch, Bryan asked the judge presiding over their bitter divorce to grant him access to $35,000 of community property funds for professional fees, and for Rachel to be sanctioned to the tune of $5,000. Why do they share her age but not his? Okay, I don't know. Bryan said he has no ability to pay his divorce lawyers without access to the community property funds. He said he owes his attorney over $62,000 for work done on the case. I mean, that's a lot of money. Do they audit the attorneys? Like, what's their rate? Is it $600 an hour? Does that mean they spent 100 hours? Am I doing the math? He told the court Rachel has $88,500 in our Charles Schwab account, and Rachel had $259,000 of community property funds in her Bank of America sole proprietor account upon separation, all of which is community property. This does not include the $250,000 that Rachel already paid out of our Charles Schwab accounts to pay our 2023 estimated taxes. Hold on a second. They paid $250,000 in taxes? Now, let's assume you do pay 50% in taxes. Oh, California, these liberals are coming for your money. So I guess that's not that much money. That means they made $600,000 or so. All right. I mean, it is a lot. I'm just saying it's, hey, what do you want from her? You know what I mean? She did claim she made $60,000 a month. So that's $720,000 a year. You write off a couple expenses. Hey, this is math, folks. So here's what she sent at 11:10 p.m. B of A. Her LLC sent you $6,600 for temp LEECH money. And I'm guessing that means temp because it's temporary money that's supposed to be paid out for 2 years, right? Now, as far as if it's LEECH or not, LEECH is an aquatic or terrestrial annelid, worm, with suckers at both ends. I didn't know it had suckers at both ends. Many species, I guess we have suckers at both ends. Many species are blood-sucking parasites, especially of vertebrates, and others are predators. In the other definition of a leech, a person who extorts profit from or expunges on others. There are leeches feeding off the hardworking majority. Now, I would not suggest Bryan sue her for defamation. I would not suggest that. That would be lecherous to do. But I do wonder if this falls into the term leech. If he's been shown in the court system to have, I guess, a right to community property. Again, I'm not trying to be a whole... Look, neither one of them, they don't have kids, and neither one of them have sacrificed their career for kids because they don't have kids. In the 2 years they've been together, if one person's career takes off, I'm sorry, you split the bill. You split the bill. That's what you do. You know what I mean? I mean, them's are the rules. If, for God knows at what reason, my wife divorces me, and I'm making $1 million and she's not, I don't walk away with $1 million. In no way whatsoever does that happen. That's just not how it works. Unless you have a prenup. Here's what she had to say about that.
A lot of people are like, you're a lawyer. How could you, do you have a prenup?
Yes.
I don't.
Okay.
So that's another thing. Mm-hmm. And the reason I didn't is because the place that I'm in now is, financially, however you want to define it, is totally different than when I got married.
Mm-hmm. Look, if you go into a relationship, here's my belief. If you go into a relationship, marriage, and maybe it's different on Bachelor because it's like, good luck. But if you go into marriage with good intentions and neither one of you have any assets to protect before the marriage, I personally don't think you should have a prenup because it's like you're going into business with each other. And when you go into business with somebody, you don't get a prenup in your business. You say, all right, let's go make some money. Let's go provide for our family. It's community property. I think if you look at it that way, if I was to say go into business with my friend and create a company called Dunkin' Donuts, and I work harder and he slacks off, but the company's worth $1 billion, it's like, I'm sorry, we both get $500 million. Do you know what I mean? We've all been in school projects where one person works harder than the other and everyone gets the same grade. That's the world. That's socialism, baby. They're coming for us. I'm kidding. Anyhow.
We were more leveled and I wasn't in California. If I got married in California, I know California's wild. So, it's not in my favor all the time. So it was just a different time. And so I wasn't leading with that. And we weren't on the same page with prenups. And so I just didn't want it to be like a...
By the way, audio and video quality of Natasha Parker's podcast, this is one of the best I've ever seen.
Bigger issue, so we didn't have one. And, hindsight's 2020. I would have done it. But to answer your question,
What's that saying? Hindsight's a leech? Okay, folks, come on. Now, look, my thought is this. The only way he's a leech, the only way he's extorting her is if there's some fraud with the banking information. Doesn't the judge look at both sides? Hers, his, who's got the money, where's the income, tax return? They clearly filed tax returns. So my thought is the only way he would be defrauding her is if he made a hell of a lot of money under the table or was like, and again, I'm not accusing him of this, but like selling drugs. Like what could you possibly be doing? Money laundering, something that's wildly, and if he was doing that and she knew about it, this wouldn't have gone this way. Like if he did something illegal and she knew about it, he wouldn't be trying to get money out of her. So you have to assume he's clean on the books. Right? Because if he's not clean on the books and she knows about it, she's going to call him out and be like, no, he's fleecing you, whatever. So that's why when I saw that he was asking for this money, I figured he had good reason to, because it's like, look, if he knows, and now I get it, $13K sounds like a lot of money to us, but like if he knows she's pulling in $60K a month, he goes, look, what are you going to do? I just, I got to get a slice of that. Again, we could beat this to a pulp, but people at this point can agree or not agree. Now, he claims she called the paparazzi on him. Here's the video. We'll get to this in a second, but he's got trash bags, hefty, strong guy. Look at how strong he is. And TMZ's there outside their community property. And it's, he's got, look, he's, what are you going to do? He's coming for the hoodies, she's trying to steal one of his hoodies. No, he sees that TMZ's there and he's like, dang, really? So that's her car, I guess. I don't know. And there they are. It looks like a very nice home. Again, I know it feels a little voyeuristic, but don't get mad at me. Get mad at TMZ. The 30-mile zone. Anyhow, let's go back to In Touch and see what else they've had to say. He claimed Rachel believes she has an exclusive right to access our community property funds to pay for her professionals. Rachel also believes our community property home is all hers. So let me go back 2 paragraphs. Bryan added, for 6 months, my attorneys have been asking Rachel for a reasonable contribution to my attorney's fees and costs so that I can level the playing field. But she objectively refuses. So here's my thought. If she ends up having to pay his $60,000, that would technically be like 4 or so months of the other money she's have to pay. Lawyers always win. Lawyers always get paid. He said on July 12th, I went to our home to begin moving out, only to find that Rachel had changed the locks on our home. I immediately sent Rachel a text to inform her that I would coordinate with my attorneys to set up a day to retrieve my belongings. Rachel did not respond to my text. Bryan wrote in his declaration, the following week, my attorneys coordinated with her attorneys, and I was able to retrieve the rest of my belongings on Saturday, July 20th. However, when I showed up to retrieve my belongings, I discovered that they were already boxed up in my room. At the time, I told Rachel, you shouldn't have touched my stuff, to which Rachel responded, I didn't. Bryan attached photos of his property boxed up. I think I'm going to show those photos. He said, and again, at that point, it's like, unless she broke your stuff, like just take the loss. Like, oh, thank you so much for helping me move. He said while he was moving out, Rachel was present with her friend. He said, while I was moving out, TMZ covertly video recorded me taking my items set for donations to my car and then posted the video on their website on July 22nd at 9:54 a.m. Rachel, her lawyers, my lawyers, and I were the only people who knew I was moving out on Saturday, July 20th. I did not contact TMZ. My lawyers did not contact TMZ. On information and belief, TMZ did not show up at our house out of the blue on Saturday, July 20th. Is that petty? What are your thoughts? Look, like I said, I'm not going to hate Rachel for it. If Rachel coordinated TMZ, then yeah, that is petty. But again, I'm not going to blame her for it. So the optics are, it looks like he's moving with trash bags, but he's saying, no, those are things going to Goodwill. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the optics aren't always what you might think. Like, yes, it looks kind of schleppy, but at the same time, how do you take stuff to Goodwill, So it's a dark time. It's a bummer of a time for both of them. And it's really too bad it's going this way. I don't know which I consider the high road here. Bryan recently was awarded $13K. They got to that. So we got the text there. Bryan said, from day one, I've been committed to working cooperatively with Rachel and her professionals to amicably resolve the case. But Rachel continues to obstruct the process while spinning false narrative about her cooperation to the court. She continues to instigate confrontation just as she did prior to my filing for divorce. He demanded the court award him access to $35,000 and pay a portion of his legal bill. As In Touch reported, Bryan filed for divorce in January. He argues he made sacrifices in his career to help Rachel grow hers. I placed my career as a chiropractor on hold to move twice for Rachel's career. You know what? I don't disagree. Like, I remember one time, my wife got a sponsorship with a beer company, and she was going to get paid X amount of money to post in with a beer, right? And I drove, and this is when I was broke. I drove to the liquor store to get the beer so that I could, help her with it. And I was just thinking, like, dang, I'm like broke, and she's making a lot of money by holding a beer, but I'm helping her because I love her or whatever. And again, I don't have any bitterness towards that, but I imagine that on 1,000 times scale, where how many times he's been the arm candy, where his career is not taking off and hers is. But then again, maybe she helped him behind the scenes that we don't know about. You know what I mean? So I'm not faulting her for decisions she's taken. I think two people can experience the darkest version of themselves when going through something so shitty. He said he needed funds to move out. We got that. Rachel agreed that Bryan should be awarded support. She proposed $10K a month. He objected and asked for 16. The judge ended up on 13. The exes have yet to finalize any sort of settlement in the case. So if she offered 10,000, would she have considered him lecherous at 10,000? Either way, I enjoy the pettiness, and I had some examples of pettiness right here. Here's a pettiness. Here's a man paying $3,000 bill using a wheelbarrow full of pennies
into the Department of Motor Vehicles to pay a bill.
I love it. Can you pay bills with pennies?
He broke into his piggy bank.
Nick Stafford took revenge on his local DMV by paying auto sales tax with 5 wheelbarrows of pennies.
How much was the total tax bill?
$87.45.
Now, I feel bad for the guy working at the DMV, but hey, sometimes it's like, all right, I'll pay your bill. So maybe again, I'm not recommending this, but maybe Rachel could see if she could pay in cash.
More to pay his fine. Apparently, Jason West was not happy with the $25 fee at a clinic in Vernal, Utah, so he showed up with a bag full of pennies. He asked the office if they accepted cash, and when they said yes, he dumped the pennies all over the counter, all 2,500 of them, and the office staff, they weren't laughing. In fact, they called police, who cited West with disorderly conduct, a fine that carried a fine of $140.
There it is, folks. That's the world we live in. Look, I say this. Here's what I say. Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it in a bow. Here's what I say about Rachel and Bryan. Let's take this as a cautionary tale to try to work things out privately. And I'm not blaming either one of them. I really don't know the truth here. But at this point, I think if you're Bryan, it's safe to go on any podcast. I'm not recommending mine. And just share your full story. Because it's the PR is not good. Taking the high road at this point, sure. But also, if these things are happening, don't let it, right now, let it play out in the court. But eventually, just tell your story and collect whatever fan base follows you. And then just let the rest go. That's my thought, because I don't think it'll get any worse when you share your side. And likewise, the same thing goes for Rachel. Do what you got to do, And it might be better for them to get over their relationship to just light the match and let it blow up. I don't know. I'm not a marriage counselor. That's just my unsolicited advice. Either way, I do wish them both the best. I do think they're both nice people. And I do hope they find someone that's more compatible with them and their goals. If you live in Los Angeles and have a stiff neck, I do suggest going to check out Bryan's practice. He has angelic hands. Trust me. He was doing, I was like, oh, that feels so good. He's like, I haven't even started yet. I'm like, no, just your touch. But either way, God bless him. And to save you the time, if you disagree with anything I said, I'm not going to read comments because it's Friday. And I am live right now on Patreon if you want to join us there. Our channel is run in part by private memberships. They do help us out a lot. Patreon.com/Dave Neal. And if you want any updates in other pop culture, entertainment, and Olympic news, I will have those for you next on the Rush Hour podcast, which comes to you anywhere you listen to podcasts. So catch that over there. And by the way, if you do join Patreon, we do not accept payment in pennies. We are a credit-based system. But either way, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good weekend, everybody.